Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. No, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Creative Podcast. We are back with your same guys. You know, we've got Mauricio, Steven, and John. If you watched the first episode,
You'll understand.
You
Only
know.
the real ones know.
Yeah.
Stupid.
No, but yeah, guys, we're back for episode 2. Today we've got some very interesting topics. Some that just happen, you know? There's no such thing as a perfect world, and mistakes happen. There are, people that come and leave regardless, even in regular life. So we're going to be hitting some good topics. But yeah, how have you been, Steven?
Good. It's been how long since the actual first recording?
About a week? 2 weeks?
2 weeks, actually, yeah.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
It was 2 weeks because it was the day we recorded, the day that I officially got accepted for my job and did HR and all that stuff.
How's that going?
Great, actually, dude.
That's
I'm really happy with the job itself. Obviously, God did his thing and hooked your boy up. But yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. It's very different. You'd think, knowing some audio and, way less video, that I would have an idea of that I was really getting myself into.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very different. It's all internet connected, all IP addresses, all, using a specific type of equipment and brand and whatnot. It's wild. But it's good.
It's cool though, because then you learn stuff that,
Absolutely.
that we don't know.
Absolutely.
And it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Ready to touch on these topics, and yeah. But I've been good.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks have been pretty fun. So let's get right into it. So topic number 1. Let's look at the notes we've been sharing.
Yes. We created notes, and then so the first one is we're gonna hit that first topic hard. So I had, during the JGen conference, I had an individual approach me, and he asked me, right, and more along the line of the question. It's not verbatim, obviously. It was like months ago, and I can barely remember what I did yesterday, let alone months ago. And it was, how do you get your pastor to be on the same page as you when it comes to spending money for better equipment? And that goes along with whether it's, on the production side of things and or the worship side of things. My initial response to this individual, and obviously we'll go deeper into it, but my initial response was just like, I don't know, really, because we have the privilege, we really do have the privilege of having a pastor that is not only y'all's dad, is not only like a second father to me, literally, but he's just like, he's very supportive.
Yeah.
He's not really one of those that's like, no, but that doesn't make any sense. Or obviously, he's very wise in saying yes and no. But a lot of it, it makes sense, so
Yeah. He's really open, and open in the sense of accepting our ideas and thinking them through and seeing like, okay, can we, or do we need it, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really good. The fact that he sees that sometimes we have a need and we explain to him why it's a need.
Yeah.
And then he sees, okay, we need it now. Like, more than just being like, why do they want it? It's actually a need,
Yeah.
But I think that also comes down to the way that we pitch things and the way that we express things to him as well. And just so the same thing is like it's the answers in the question. We have to get him on the same page of why we need it, more than just asking for it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't really see it as like, oh, we have to convince him. It's more of a thing of like, I feel like whenever we do an investment, it's more than anything. The way that I always look at it is like, it's not my money. It's not the church's. Like, it's not my money. It's not my dad's money. It's the church's money. It's the people's money. Everybody that gives their tithes and offerings, that is their money that they're putting into the church, and that's God's money. So that's one thing that like I want to like clarify too, is like, yeah, having great quality stuff is awesome, but before you get great quality stuff, you have to know how to use what you have first.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a $1,000 console, you can make it sound great,
Mhm.
But if you have a $10,000 console and you don't know how to use it, then it's not gonna sound the same. It's just like having a really expensive camera, but you have really crappy lenses and crappy lighting, then it's not gonna look good.
Yeah.
No matter how expensive or how high quality the cameras are. So I think that one of the more important things before you make an investment is you should learn what you have, master it, and then if you have the space for it, if it's something that's doable, then do it. A lot of people that I've spoken to want the best for their church. Awesome. That's awesome. But don't jump into debt and don't jump into something that's going to cause you to spend more money, like bite off too much than you can't chew it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that like I at least recommend, you know?
Yeah.
This is someone who I've been down that line of, oh, we bought this, but then we don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have to sell it or we have to figure out what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bad stewardship. God doesn't bless that. So we have to steward what comes in correctly. And part of getting him on the same page, more than anything, is showing him, okay, this is what our goal is, and we have the same goals, we have the same spirit, we have the same exact mindset, and we're on the same page. So if we're on the same page spiritually, then we're gonna be on the same exact page whenever it comes to finances, whenever it comes to production. So that's at least my input on it, because I work with this on a daily basis. So.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it also brings up a real important point, that you need to be. I feel like a key component of that as well is you need to be an asset to your pastor, right, or to your finance team, right, to say, hey, these cameras aren't working. Well, what do you want me to do with that information,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I find it, I try my best to do this as often as possible if and when something happens around me. For example, if in certain situations like, hey, we don't have this, but I have this, and if I do this and this, then maybe we can do this. You know, it's not just coming up, bringing the problems, but saying like, hey, I have either a solution or multiple solutions, to say like, to give that person or your pastor, your finance team, whoever it is, options in the way that they can help you reach the goal that you're attempting to reach, right? Whether it's equipment, whatever it is, regardless. I think that's a key point, because everyone in their mom, you know, wants to bring all their issues and their problems to their pastor. It's like, okay, but is that all you're gonna do? You're gonna be a burden to a certain extent, right? Help them out, you know, help come up with ideas, because they're not, you know, if you do your research, like Marty was saying, if you do your research and you look it up and you find it and like, hey, here's the same thing, here's probably a cheaper option because maybe you're a smaller ministry.
Yep.
Here's this, it can do the same thing, you know, but it's just off brand. Well, just because it's not Sony or Nikon or whatever brand you like to use doesn't mean that it can't be good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can make it work. You'd be amazed. I mean, you know, we've gone from the ground up, you know?
Yeah, I think investing in good equipment is good. It's awesome, but invest what you can invest.
Mm-hmm.
You get me? If your budget for the year is $10,000, then prioritize. Don't get a camera that only does photo. Get one that does both. So then you can do videos, you can do photos. If you also need a computer to edit. You also need subscriptions. You need apps. There's so many different things. You need a case for the camera. You need lenses. You need SD cards. You need a hard drive. At the end of the day, there goes your 10 grand.
Yep.
So a lot of people they don't really think through a lot of things. So at least me, I help out a lot of churches like purchase the stuff, and I give a lot of recommendations. One of my biggest things is always, I don't recommend what I've never used.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's one of my rules, and Steven knows that. And if I've never used it, what do we usually do? We rent it.
Mm-hmm. Learn it.
Yeah. So like, you know, it's cheaper to rent something than to invest the money and buy it and then
And not know what you're doing with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the things that like me and Steven, at least, we've always tried to do is like, if we're gonna, like we've done, like, do you remember the barnyard recording we did, what, like 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago? 2 years ago. It was 2020 February.
We recorded.
It was February 2020. I remember.
Wasn't it January?
It was February.
Was it February?
Yeah, because it was right after my birthday.
It was right before COVID.
Yeah, it was right before COVID hit, and COVID hit like end of February. So I remember that we did that recording, and we used cameras that were recommended to me by someone else, and we didn't really like those cameras.
They were not great.
Steven didn't like them, but we rented them. So we spent like a small percentage of the money we would have spent if we would have bought them.
Yeah.
So going to that is saying like sometimes renting is a good idea because you get the quality, you get the job done, but you don't
Not
invest
a big investment.
Yeah.
thousands of dollars.
There's no commitment behind it and saying like, yeah, because if you buy that equipment, right, and then just like this situation, Steven didn't like it. Imagine we would have spent, just literally, I don't know how much it would have been, but I'm just saying like $10,000 on that. It's like, bro, that's $10,000 down the drain.
It would have been like 60.
It's not that
Golly.
it's not that the cameras were bad. There was just they weren't user friendly, and on top of that, they were extremely hard to color correct. So
Yeah.
like if you go to that video, there's a lot of like it looks like decently along everything, but if you're really paying attention,
Yeah.
you can tell that the shots look different from each other.
Also, you've gotten way better at color correcting and editing.
That's another thing.
So,
That's true.
so his quality has gone up a lot. So it's like you can't really compare his old work to his new work.
Yeah. I think another thing too, as well. Like some people, like we were saying, some people think that getting the best thing is gonna like
The best thing.
like not in a rude way, but it's like gonna cover up an experience. Does that make sense?
Yep, I get you.
So like I think if you already have equipment, and even though like let's say it's not the best or it's not the most expensive, I think just learning and mastering it, even that will help you whenever you decide to upgrade or move to other things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And even there, realistically, with like a kit camera and a kit lenses, you can do the same work if you're experienced enough as like someone with a
Yeah.
$10,000
And
camera.
just to
lenses.
clarify to the people that don't know, a kit lens and kit camera means like one that comes with the camera, which is usually not the best type of lens to use,
Yeah.
but
Basic.
it works. It works.
Normally, they're like higher on aperture and not primes.
They're more for like outdoor shooting or
Sorry,
being
terms.
outside. Yeah, they're photography and video terms.
Yeah.
But
Like it's the equivalent of the for those of you that have, if you bought, like a PlayStation or I don't know if Xbox does this, but I know that PlayStation used to do this. Where you would buy the PlayStation, it came with a controller, and then it came with its own little garbage microphone with one headphone type thing, where it's an all-in-one, but the quality is very
It's
low.
like one earpiece.
Exactly.
And there's like a little mic here. That's-
Exactly,
Sure,
like
put
that.
it that way. So like the camera and the kit lens is
Yes,
that mix.
I
Yeah,
get you.
that's fair.
it works.
It works. You can make it work.
But it's not the best. But learn how to use that first before you invest more money. And also, one thing, at least for those people who are leaders and who are working with their pastors, one thing that's very important that I highly recommend is communicate with your pastor.
Yeah.
Communicate with your leaders. Communicate with your leadership and be realistic with them. You get me? And make sure that you follow the same exact path that they're following, because if they're being led by Christ in one direction, you shouldn't be going the other way.
Yeah.
You should be going the same direction, especially if you're a leader in the production or in the media aspect.
No.
So
And lead by example in that end too. So if and when your pastor says like, hey, no, like right now we can't afford that, so we're not getting that, don't turn around and be like, man, this guy's an idiot. How does he not understand? It's like, no.
you have to be
The
respectful.
pastor is you have to remember this, that your pastor is not perfect, right? Pastors are still human beings, but you don't know what guidance he may have already had previously. Maybe he got out of a meeting, 2 minutes before he spoke to you, saying like, hey, unfortunately, financially, we can't make any big purchases for the next 6 months. And then he spoke to you and you turned around and you threw a fit.
Yeah.
Without being like, hey, pastor, or hey, leader, or whatever it is, like, we're thinking about this. And he's like, unfortunately, we can't. If you would have taken 5 more seconds to allow them to finish that thought, you would have found out, unfortunately, we can't because, X, Y, and Z. So
I think that also goes even for like real world stuff outside
Absolutely.
of church, outside of like the 4 walls. Because like think about it, if you're like working for a company or anything like that, but the budget for that year is just low or for that event is low, then you have to make do with what you got and you have to make it the best that you can.
One thing too that's happened to us, right, Steve, is like God touched either our hearts or pastor's heart, and it's like, what, we have to invest, and we shoot the vision. We tell our people who help sponsor us. We tell our people, like people in our church, hey guys, we're planning to buy, for example, with the cameras, the video cameras. Hey guys, we're planning to increase our quality for the live stream, for the video audience, for the people online. Help us. This is what we want to do. This is how much we need. And what happens? God backed us up, and literally God paid for everything.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because whenever you are aligned with the Holy Spirit, you're aligned with your pastor, with your leadership, he opens the doors and he provides.
Yeah.
And it's not you trying to save money or trying to put pennies together to buy something. It's the Holy Spirit's providing for it. And that's something that me and Steven can really testify for, that it's happened with our department a lot, right? Literally, we have a vision, we tell our dad, and my dad's we're in the same spirit. And he's like, okay, let's pray for it. We pray for it. And literally that same weekend, well, here comes this much money for this. And it was exactly what we needed.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. So that's something that I would really exhort you guys to do, is like pray, communicate. You know, if you have a vision, you want to expand your ministry, you want to make it with more excellence, then make sure that you're in the same spirit. So,
Yeah.
I would say let's go to the next topic. What is the difference between starting a church from scratch and walking into one already built from a production standpoint? Steve, I don't know if you want to start this question off.
What is the difference between starting one and joining one that's already began?
Mm-hmm.
Research. Honestly, I feel like that's the main key. Well, other than like setup, of course. Like realistically, if you have nothing and you're starting from scratch, you have to, one, do your research, do a budget, figure out everything that you need. Okay, I need X and Y and Z cables. I need this equipment, right? Like for us, when we moved into this building, we didn't have everything that we have.
No,
We moved into this building with
we had
what?
about half.
We had
Maybe.
two cameras, and what was the board that you were running back then?
X32. Yeah.
An X32, and we only had one board, so we didn't have monitors, we didn't have broadcast.
No,
nothing
we
like
run
that.
3 consoles every Sunday,
Yeah,
pretty much.
and then we didn't. All we were doing beforehand, for those that don't know, we used to like set up every Sunday, tear down every Sunday, 2 services,
Loads of fun.
on a Sunday
In a hotel.
in a hotel.
Yeah.
So we would show up like 6 a.m., 7 a.m.
Yeah, I would get there around 6:30.
Set up, stay there.
The band would show up around 8.
because we had a
30.
6 p.m. service after
Yeah.
the 11 a.m. service,
Yeah.
right?
So we'd have like a 2-3 hour lunch.
Yeah. And then after the 6 p.m. service, tear everything back down, put it in vehicles, go home, do it every Sunday, 4 years in a row.
It was
Literally.
really, really hard. It was a moment of growth for us.
So for us, we never had anything stable, but I think that also helped us because we learned how to set up quickly and how to correctly set up. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like running cables, knowing how to set that
Running
kind of stuff up.
cables, it was like second nature at that
Yeah.
point.
So like when we moved here, it was slightly different because we're like running cables through the ceiling and through the walls and stuff like that, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not just like through the floor like we were in the hotel because you can't go through the walls of the hotel. But
You can.
But we had like the theory behind it of like, okay, we need this much cable, we need these inputs, these outputs, this
Yeah.
many inputs, outputs for like for audio, right? Like we're gonna have this many musicians, this many mics on stage. I need this much to take care of that.
Yeah.
So we have all that like in our production room. We have racks full of literally XLRs just plugged in, running back over here, or no,
Yeah.
actually under the stage into a snake that runs an Ethernet into you, right? Is that how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, something along those lines. Yeah, and I'm not even in audio, but I help to run those cables.
It's called the ES50, but it basically runs through an Ethernet cable. You send 32 channels of audio and 816 channels of outputs.
And
Yeah.
it's mainly because you are this big. And you
That's true,
fit
and I'm the only
underneath.
one that fits on the stage.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. Back to the
Which-
original
which,
question
by the
because
way-
we got a little bit off.
Which, by the way, we have to run another cable for the bass. But go ahead and continue. Continue.
Of course.
I found spiders down there last time, bro.
Yeah, there's always spiders. in
No, but like for us, it was a little bit different because we were setting something and leaving it there, like forever for the most part, right? All those cables. You know what I mean. So it's more of like a permanent than like a temporary for one day kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it was a little bit different, but it was also relieving in a way. But I
Yeah.
mean, still to this day, it's been how long we've been in this building?
5 years.
5 years, and we're still running stuff. So like it's
Yeah.
not like the first time we set everything perfectly, right? So like we're always adding stuff, we're always learning new stuff or needing new cables because cables over time mess up with going in and out and doing all that stuff. So
They mess up and you need new ones.
Yeah.
Or people. don't
or
know
like
how to wrap
like
them
right
out.
now,
use it.
like right now we're setting up we're setting up the amp room,
Yeah.
which we didn't have prior. So we created an entire room
for
where
amplifiers.
we're
Or guitar
making
amps.
it correctly for guitar amps and stuff like that. But now we need XLRs, so now we have to throw more cables to actually be able to run those inputs into your audio system.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not using XLRs.
Are you going to do the Ethernet stuff?
So it's called a catapult. Basically, what it is, it's a Cat 5 Ethercon to Ethercon, which is like an Ethernet cable with like a jack of like an XLR.
Mm-hmm.
It attaches to 2 different boxes.
Is that the 4-pin thing?
And you send 4 channels of audio in and out. Through, like it's basically like converting just so instead of throwing 8 cables, because I gotta send audio to the amp room and then send audio back to the
Does it just
consoles.
split? Pretty much.
No, it's basically 2 separate lines. So I'm sending and then I'm receiving back.
Cool.
So yeah, and I'm gonna use microphones to pick up the amp sounds.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is what this podcast is all about.
Okay, so that's setting up from scratch, right? Like setting up from scratch is taking time. It took us what, 2 months, 3 months before we actually moved in here? A month? 2 months?
No, bro, it took 9 months.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
See, it takes a while to set everything up before we're even like ready
Like-
to
Wait,
have a
are we
service
talking
in.
about? Yeah. That's
Like,
what I was about to say.
The thing that took the longest was the drop ceiling.
Oh, that's true.
That took
'cause
6
it-
months,
well,
and then it needs to get approved by the city. The permits were a
Yeah.
pain in the butt.
Yeah.
The fire permits. I think the hardest thing was the fire permits because we
Yeah.
never got it right. Literally, I remember one time the fire marshal he walked in, and you know how you have like the fire extinguisher signs, the little red ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the city of Carrollton, it has to be exactly 8 feet 6 inches off the ground. The fire
Of course it
extinguisher
does.
sign,
Yeah.
and it was 8 feet exactly. So it was 6 inches off, and we failed the test because of that. Because one
Yeah.
of the signs was too low, and we had to raise it. It was ridiculous. But that's like how strict it is, literally. So I think we took that fire test like 8 times before we were actually able to pass it because they always found something.
I
Yeah.
think, and then I think in terms of like joining something that's already made, yes, it's easier because it's less work in terms of like you don't have to run everything and don't have to like learn everything and how to set everything up and correctly do that.
Yeah.
But I think you still have a learning process of learning the equipment, learning equipment that you're going into that you don't know, and
Yeah.
spending time to actually like get good at what you're working with or working on.
Yeah, and it also like going into something that's already there, also more or less like leaves room for, like you're how do I explain this? You're kind of at the same time coming in to, lack of a better terms, right? Like bad habits, messed up cables. You like if you're coming into something, and again, right? I'm saying this. Where you're not coming into like a Bethel, right? Where Bethel has, their ducks in a row or however you want to say it, right? Quack.
It's a joke. No, but yeah, Bethel's great.
Yeah, but I'm saying, right, like where you're not coming into like a Bethel or something like that and they have their stuff in a row. They know exactly where they're going, exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And I think all that comes down to having order, structure, and that's something that we really learned how to do. Is even up to recently, like our structure was kind of all over the place about a year ago. We kind of structurized a lot of stuff, and the person who really helped us out a lot was Steve. Like Steven's role in the sense of, like, and I want to tell you this, your role in the sense of like the way that you helped organize a lot of the media team and like in the sense of like the photography, the video. You've done a great job with that. I want to commend you on that. But it took us time to get there. It wasn't something that happened overnight. It wasn't something that was like, oh, we're just gonna do this, boom.
Yeah.
It took implementation. It took time of people learning. Okay, this is a new system.
You know what? This is a good example because for me, I didn't build that from scratch. I joined,
Yeah,
right? So this is perfect for me because in a sense, I was put into that position and I had no experience with that stuff. Like my entire career, quote unquote, is like live broadcast and more filmmaking than like social media because it's a whole different aspect.
Yeah.
So I came in with an out of the box kind of mindset, right? But I came in and I told them like the very first like 2 weeks, I was like, look, I'm not going to come in and do like stern changes. I'm literally going to come in, I'm going to watch, I'm going to see what we can improve on, see what we can make easier.
that was very wise.
And like after that, we'll have a conversation. We'll talk together and be like, look, whatever makes it easier for everyone and we all agree, then we'll do it that way. We'll set it that way and we'll run it that way, which is what we ended up doing. So that helped us be more effective with our time, helped us be more confident in ourselves because we're just spending time together and properly just Why are you holding it like that?
Bro, it's just this chair is uncomfortable. So I wanted to lean back and I figured I might as well still give some audio.
There
you
you
were
go.
saying.
I wonder if that was like really boomy grabbing that.
I mean, it might have been like,
We could just edit that out.
sorry for your ears.
Bro.
No, I forgot what I was saying.
Steve, you have to talk like ASMR, like real close. It's a joke. It's a joke. But go ahead, Steve.
No, so like coming in, I didn't want to be like super like cutthroat, right?
Yeah, like a dictator type thing.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Totalitarian.
No, because again, I had no experience.
Steven Hitler.
They're the experienced people, but I was put as a head, so I had to be able to like
Steven
accommodate.
Stalin.
Huh?
Steven Stalin.
Mauricio's still stuck on that.
Steven Hitler. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Yo, santo. He's thinking
Beep
I'm gonna
that one out. Yeah, I'm about to say
it's a joke.
beep.
It's a joke.
I committed genocide over there. God.
You gotta cut your mustache like Hitler. Don't talk. There's a joke. Okay.
Anyway, and actually, Steven,
I'm a little bit uncomfortable now.
I've been watching a lot of World War II documentaries lately, so that's why I'm saying.
No, yeah, I'm in my current job, right? I'm kind of stepping into that as well, where I'm coming in as a lead, and I walk in and I want to put my head through a brick wall because it's just so jacked up, man. And it's like super frustrating because I want to bring positive. I want to bring positive change, but like you said, I told my supervisor, I'm coming in and I'm staying quiet for like at least the first month or so, right? Like once I get all my notes and all my ducks in a row, here we go with changes, homie, because we have, obviously without being extremely specific, but we have techs showing up to certain locations and our supervisor rolls up, it's like, hey, where are your tools? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Did you bring yours? Homie, what? Why are you waiting for the supervisor to show up
And bring tools.
Like, bruh, no. You need to show up ready to go and ready to do your job. So I can definitely see your side of things on that.
Yeah, like for sure, spending time at least in the leadership role. I'm sure like going into a different role would be different because you're showing up and you're learning, right? You're getting trained, you're learning and doing that stuff. But I think being in a leadership role is a little different because it's either you make the decision if you need to change things or you let them be, or do little changes or do big changes, right? But again, like for us, watching is always better because then you can catch what's wrong.
Yeah.
More than like creating changes without even knowing whereas if there is a problem or not, or if you're making it better or worse, or if they already had a really good way of doing it and then you're changing it to be less effective, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was wise in that sense for both of us to do that because we were able to find like the weaknesses, quote unquote, of said team of our teams and be like, hey, let's work on this and make this better for everyone, make it a better experience for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also like the aspect of like creating a team and a team environment really helped out. I've seen Steven really do a lot of meetings with his team and they laugh, they have fun, but they get work done. So like that's something that like he's really done a great job with that. I try to do that too with you guys. And so that's something that like you always have to.
But y'all don't get the same vibes.
He yells at us.
Yeah,
sometimes.
he actually has a whip in the back.
He does have
has
a whip. Ladies
in
and
the
gentlemen,
production room.
if you ever want to work with us, remember Mauricio has a whip,
And he will hit
use
you
it.
with yes.
He will use
Yes,
it.
he
If
has
you-
it. He has it framed.
Yes.
On top of
I
his
want-
audio,
And then it's got a little hammer next to it. It says break in case of betrayal, in case of treason, in
we
case
have
of talk
used
back.
we have used 52 frames already.
Very much so. This man likes to hit us.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just want to say this, CJ, this is your fault. You're the one that started this.
Yeah, sure.
You're the one that created
That's what we're
this
getting
monster.
him for Christmas.
A whip.
Oh my gosh, yes.
No,
And that's Mauricio's. That's gonna be Mauricio's contribution to the podcast, bro. That's gonna be it. And we're gonna make merch. And it's gonna say Mauricio, and it's gonna have a whip at the end of it.
okay. So continuing, guys. So coming up soon.
The L in his last name could be the whip.
You're so stupid. All right. So the next thing we have coming up. What is one of our next events that we have coming up? Or the next things we're
December
doing?
recording.
So we're gonna be doing a worship recording in December 3rd. It's gonna be a private recording, but we will be pushing that content out. Hopefully,
If it's good enough.
February. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Steve, stop.
But-
Probably like around February.
And
So we're looking
and the beauty of it too is that podcast again. Remember, boys, and this note is going to be extremely important for us because as we're going through that event, You need
We
to
gotta
be
be talking
adding
about
stuff.
it, yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be like, bro, the
This
things
happened,
about
this
this
happened.
happened, and we're gonna talk about it
So
and talk about
one
it.
of the things I want to do is I
Okay.
want to see if we can talk to Matty Yanis, and I want to see if we can vlog like the process of the
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
recording, and also I want to see if we can record a podcast there with the Camel Brothers. Me and
That'd
Steve
be
can
fun.
do one
What-
with us four, and just kind of talk production, talk working with brothers, working with companies.
Can we jump
That'd
back
be
to something
perfect,
real
yeah.
quick?
Hmm?
Can we jump back to something? Can I reiterate your question but make it a little bit different?
That's coming soon. Go ahead, Steve.
So, my brain just died. Oh my god. Okay, the question
Smooth
about
brain.
going into something from the ground up or going straight into it like it's already ready.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever been in that position because you're always there on setup. But like, let's say we do a recording, right? Like, let's say the barn recording for
Yeah.
the people that weren't there for the setup
Oh yeah.
compared to us.
They're kinda
We were
lost.
there.
Kind of lost the first
We were there the day before, setting
Yeah.
up, showed up the
Yeah.
next day in the morning to make sure everything was ready, troubleshoot everything.
Hey, we even stayed
like-
at a hotel
Like,
nearby.
again,
That was fun.
how is that process? Because we only spoke about moving into a building, but how's the process for a project?
Or an event.
Like coordinating,
there setting up.
coordinating all of that, huh?
I was there sitting.
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
Oh.
That's why I said like you were there to set up with us
So you
Yeah.
don't know what it's like to show up and it's
and
already ready.
just work. Yeah,
That's what
like
I'm
there
trying
was
to
some
say.
people that like we didn't ask them to come help out. Well, I mean, we were like, if you want to help out, you can, but they didn't show up.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Or they showed up and they didn't do nothing.
Yeah, but they show up after everything's ready and just ready for whenever the recording
Yeah.
happens, right? So they just do their job.
Or they
Yeah.
showed up to worship.
Yeah, I think the important, like one of the craziest parts, and I think it's going to be extremely important for this next recording, is where we have a diagram, right? Or like for example, like Mauricio told me, it's like, hey, this is what I need out, make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
it would,
Go ahead.
and it was like, I think it's going to be important it is important for something like that if you're making it from the ground up to have a design. It doesn't matter if it's like a piece of paper or a napkin or something like, hey, this is going to go here, this is going to go here, this is going to go here, right? And that's kind of what Maudi did with that day, right? To just like, hey, drums are going to be over here,
Yeah.
Piano 1 over here, piano 2 over here,
think-
electric, acoustic, stuff like that.
We had that conversation maybe like a month prior about like where we wanted things
Mm-hmm.
because we had gone to the venue twice, Mal? Went to the venue twice.
2 times. Yep.
Yeah, we went twice. We looked at it, and then we took photos and videos just to like reference where things are. And I think like a month before, Mal was like, "Okay, let's see where we want to put the instruments." But it wasn't just for like
and then we went back.
audio wise.
We
it was
went back
also,
we went back 2 weeks before.
yeah, it was
we went-
also like
yeah.
how visually pleasing would it look?
It would,
where,
yeah, I agree.
Where instruments and singers are gonna be.
Yeah,
all that stuff.
I walked it once by myself, and then we took you.
Yeah,
And literally the whole trip was for Steve to see it.
yeah. So I could.
It was like 2
All
hours
the
from
way
here.
out. Yeah, bro, it's far. It was far. It was a far.
It was
drive,
pretty though.
brother.
It was pretty.
It was like a wedding venue, but it was like a barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of rustic and like warm,
So,
fuzzy feeling. You know?
Yeah, and so some of you.
Just sorry, I was gonna say something else, but go ahead.
No, you go first because I'm gonna. Yeah.
So this next recording we're gonna do is gonna be in actually my house, right, Steve?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've done it once before. We if you look on the same channel, there's the house sessions. But like back then,
Yeah.
we were
FYI,
young.
We didn't know what the hell
We-
were doing.
we were-
Well, we did, but not that.
We were young. It was our first ever like big project that we were trying to do, and we've learned a lot. So
We're
hopefully it looks better. If it doesn't, we suck.
You can
And
put a
we
thumbs
will
up.
end the podcast.
Yeah. Wait.
We'll just, we're done.
We'll blow up the entire channel.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
nothing
it.
else.
The worship's gonna be great, but if it looks and sounds bad, it's our fault.
Yeah. No, yeah, I was gonna say, and some of you may actually be asking, right? Like we just said we did all this setup, we were out there, we did our whole thing, right? And then some of you have only seen a single video put up. So you may ask yourself,
He's talking about the barn
what
one.
do you do? Yeah, the barn recording. So you ask yourself, right? Like, what do you do in that situation, right? Because you put all this work and effort and everything, but you only pulled one video where there's a lot of. This is where what do you do when things go wrong, right?
As a reference, that recording was 2 hours, and we only got like 20 something minutes out of it.
Yes.
No, because there's 3 different videos.
No, we're talking about the
What got
barn.
posted?
Oh, the barn. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That was 2
yeah.
hours.
That's kind of
That was 2 hours, and we only got one video out of
Exactly.
it. 20 minutes.
Yeah. So you ask yourself, right?
There's a
Like, what do you
reason for
do when things go wrong? And things can go wrong in many different aspects, right? For example, didn't we have a box that was missing?
What?
A DI box?
No, we had like a box of like things that we needed that like somebody had to from somebody that was still over here
had to come bring it.
take down there. Exactly. Yeah.
It was I think Johnny's the one that brought it, and it was something from church. I just remember that day was kind of stressful because I love whenever people help, but I don't like whenever my dad tells 50 people and they show up and they're like, okay, so what are we doing? And it's like they've never rolled a cable in their life. They don't know how to tape down stuff. So I love the heart, but it makes it just twice as hard because I have to teach them. And then
to put in reference, I like to help with setup, but I had to set up my own stuff because, again, we rented those cameras and I needed to learn them.
And
we've never used them.
And white balance them for that
and
room.
do all that stuff.
Which that room's lighting was kind of
I had to stop doing what I was doing, separate like an hour and a half to go help and clean up the cables because they didn't look good for camera.
Yeah, because they didn't do them correctly. And
so
that was,
I physically had to remove myself from what my job is to go help another job.
Another team.
Team do it.
And so that's one of the things that I also want to elaborate is like make sure that you train your people good, because it's happened to us before where we have people that maybe it's just 3 of us in the team and we're setting everything up, and I understand the heart, but like it sometimes makes it twice as hard because then we have to correct and fix everything they did and redo it all over again because they didn't do it right. So it's like, sometimes also planning ahead of time. Always, whenever we do an event, we always plan, and we always plan a buffer. So, okay, let's say we're going to start at 12. That means that we could start at 1. That means we could start at 2. Why? Because things can happen. Technical. Everything you're working with technology, every single time, something can happen. So, always be prepared for that. Always bring extra tools, extra cables.
Back to what Josh was saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. Bro, this whole thing's about us going on tangents. So it's all good. But right, you ask yourself, right, like, what do you do when things go wrong? Because if we're being honest, things went wrong. Things went horribly wrong.
Things went off the rails.
Yeah. Exhibit A, we were missing important items to get started, to finish some stuff up. Number 2, the cameras were not to Steven's liking. There was a lot of issues. They, like he was saying, they weren't user friendly. Just missing things, not here, not there, people late, all these crazy things. And then so we finish it off. We finish everything up. We break down. We go home, and we're super excited the way things are going. And then bam, COVID hits. And everything went horribly wrong.
And nothing can go wrong. Oh, no, it all went wrong.
Exactly.
And then because of COVID, we got really delayed on posting stuff because it was just too much.
Well, with COVID,
we were
like we were talking
overwhelmed.
about last podcast, we had to figure out how to do all the broadcast stuff.
Yeah.
So like
so
that
hard.
recording,
Everything prior
that
to
whole recording
back
went like
burner.
went
Way
to the
on the back
of the
burner.
room.
And it's like that's the last thing on your mind while you're trying to stay afloat. And then what did we say? Out of the 10 people, and again, not being specific, but out of the 10 people that were mainly used for that recording,
4 stayed.
4 stayed.
Just elaborate, not the word used, but they participated.
Yes, I apologize. 10 people that participated, that were willing to be a part of that production. We actually only have 4 left in the ministry, and that's a part of ministry.
The Exodus.
It's a part of ministry, and if you believe that, it's like you're always gonna have the same people in a church for all of eternity, you're off, homie. That's not how that works. People come, people go, and that's a part of life. Just like people come and go out of your life. I'm pretty sure you're not still best friends with your best friend from high school, and if you are, that's congratulations. But you go through stages in life, and things change. But anyways, that was another big thing that went wrong, right? Because let's be honest, it was a bit weird, posting that video, and 6 people out of the 10 are no longer here.
That, and also we posted it like a year later?
Absolutely.
Almost, like 8 months? 8 months later?
We posted in November, and it was recorded in February. The goal was to post it like
Like a
early
month later.
summer.
Yeah.
Like May.
Yeah.
That was the end goal. and we were supposed to post like 2 hours of it.
Are you sure we posted same year?
Yeah, it was same year.
Yeah,
I remember
it was.
because I paid for the mastering.
Suspicious.
Yeah, it was right before Josh's wedding that I paid for it. I remember that.
It was before my wedding, actually. Yeah.
Like,
Oh my gosh, I got married that year.
That was
Right.
before your wedding?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
your wedding was
Because
so
during his bachelor
far
party, I was
behind.
on the phone with the engineer.
Yeah. It was what?
During your bachelor party, I was on the phone with the engineer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It was mastering.
Because the wedding was November 20th. Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So,
But yeah, just remember, things are gonna go wrong. Just don't lose your brain. Don't lose your mind. When they go wrong, because things will go wrong. You're gonna show up. You're gonna show up to a recording. You're gonna show up to an event. You're gonna show up to recording in an event, and things are gonna go wrong. Equipment that you literally just used is gonna stop working. We had that happen so
And-
much with 2 services.
Every Sunday.
And the majority of that,
every single Sunday.
it still happens to this day. And the majority of that is very spiritual. Because
Oh, absolutely.
it works perfectly fine the Sunday before we put the equipment away back in its
Or-
case and we bring it back out and it's
or
stuff's
2
working.
days before for something else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
all the
you
time.
don't touch anything at all. You just put away the stuff that you normally put away, and you set it up exactly the same on a Sunday, and then bam, no work.
Yeah.
It's really rough.
And then you have to troubleshoot everything and go through the
Yeah.
whole process.
Yeah.
One of the one last thing I want to talk about is, in regards to building a team from scratch as well, because we really didn't get to touch that much.
True.
That from like a leadership aspect, one of the things that I can say that I've learned is like learn how to teach people how to be patient and learn how to trust in them.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of times where I go out of town and I trust my team to take care of everything and I don't get any phone calls. And then I come back and everyone's like, oh, it was fine. There are some times where I do get a phone call every once in a while and it's like, hey, Mauri, this isn't working. But that's normal, you know, like accidents happen, issues happen. But learn how to trust people and learn how to build people and how to believe in people. That's one thing that we've learned how to do, and I really thank God for our team because we wouldn't be where we're at without them. This is not me and Steven, it's all of us.
Also, if you're
Yeah.
a leader, I think it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Learning and like mastering what you have to
Yeah.
train them, because if you don't know it, they don't know it.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
something messes up that you don't know, they're not going to figure it out until you get back or until you spend the time to figure it out.
Mhm.
So definitely like mastering what your own thing is will definitely help whenever you're teaching. And like don't do, because sometimes I do this, I'm bad at teaching sometimes in terms of I give a lot of information and it can be overwhelming sometimes for people. So like if you're going to do that, reiterate over and over and over, like continue like bringing that same thing over, like have trainings and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Or do it other ways in terms of like little information, go do that. Little information, go do that.
Yeah,
Little
absolutely.
information, go do that. So like that's something even I'm learning still, like on the, like you can tell when people are getting too much information. You can tell
Yes.
in their body language.
Yes.
And you're like, all right, we'll stop here.
They're fried.
We work on this.
Like fried
Show me
fish.
what I just told you, and then we'll go from there, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, boys. So we're gonna finish off with this one. I think this is gonna be like a staple in the podcast now. Even though technically you would have been a part of both, but now you only have to choose one. So, would you have rather seen the parting of the Red Sea,
We're doing this again.
or we're gonna do this every podcast now, or would you have rather been walking through the desert for the 40 years where your shoes would never get jacked up?
You would eat
You
manna.
would eat manna. There is a cloud for you during the day and fire for you at night.
The Red Sea. I don't think that's ever been done again since it happened with Moses. And that's just my opinion.
Hold up. I'm not disagreeing with you, but what do you, bro?
Supernatural provision.
yeah.
Like heavy.
Bro, you've been wearing the same
Like
shoes for
super
40
heavy.
Have you ever
years.
been to a beach and looked at the water? There is no end. And to see that thing go,
Bro, we wear shoes
Like-
for a few years and they're done.
And you eat every day where there's no food.
Steve,
And
he turned his staff into a snake to fight another snake.
Okay,
He
we're not talking about
walked-
that though. We're talking about
he
the Red
walked-
Sea though.
No.
You're getting off topic. You're getting off topic now.
And that same staff parted the Red Sea. Only thing I gotta say is the Red Sea wins. That's in my opinion.
what would you have chosen?
That stuff is.
I don't know. I can't choose. They're both good.
No, you gotta choose. This is how we're ending, and then obviously, as you know, let us know your responses in the comments below. Oh wow, why are you saying loud noise?
The supernatural provision. Though seeing the Red Sea would be cool, and walking it would be cool.
Because they did walk on dry land.
They walked across, and then trapped the soldiers of Egypt in.
And not just that, but can you imagine walking across? You see whales, you see dolphins, and like
It's the Dead Sea. There's nothing there.
It's the Red Sea, not the
So
Dead
Red
Sea.
Sea. I do apologize.
so there is stuff there.
But it
There
is
might
dead
be
because
stuff
it's
there.
salty, but
There you go.
I mean,
like extra.
I'm salty too, but I'm not dead.
it'd be cool to see some fish. I mean, you're walking.
I mean,
All right.
You're not
what's
wrong,
your
but
what's your choice?
honestly, I would just have to say it would be the provision one because of the dude. I'm
40
telling
years
you,
worth of
it's
food out of nowhere,
40
fire out of
freaking
nowhere.
years, bro, where your shoes are growing with your your
then,
foot,
And then after that, you go to a place filled of milk and honey.
homie. What more could you want?
heaven.
Okay.
Bruh.
All right.
Anyways,
that's it.
All right,
we'll
you guys.
see y'all later.
Yeah, thank you
Red
guys
Sea.
so
All
much
right.
for
Yeah.
watching
See you guys
again.
later.
We'll see you guys on the next one, and then lastly, let us know
I
in
think-
the comment
I think
section
the next
whether
one-
you would choose.
And
Sorry, let us know in the comment section whether you would choose to A, be a part of the parting of the Red Sea and have walked through it, or B, be a part of the provision, right? Where your shoes were walking through the desert for the 40 years. You know, you got manna left and right, you got clouds during the day, you got fire at night, and your shoes don't wear
all right,
out.
buddy. All right.
And what was the last thing you were going to
Oh,
say?
I was gonna say by the time the next
have
one
something
comes
to say
out, the MW2 should have been
Yes,
out.
the
So
Modern
we'll
Warfare
probably talk about
2
that.
should be out. The campaign, we'll play it, and then we'll talk about it on the podcast for the next one. But yeah.
And also, guys, next time I'm gonna be asking the last question because I already have one in my head.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. All right.
And,
We'll see y'all later.
And wait, and keep a lookout for our new content that's gonna be coming out soon.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.